for as far as integration and not segregation, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
I think he was a person who strived for equality for everyone, which is many times impossible in this country, but I really think what he was trying to bring for this country is for everybody to treat each other equally.
I think we should celebrate it as a means of education, not necessarily taking the day off, but doing something within whatever your institution is, whether you're at work or you're at school.
I think if each one of us took that day and try to reflect and remember who we are and try to act in a manner that he would have us act on that day. Start on that day and from every day forth, try to be together, treat each other fairly, and others.
In Dearborn, they're under attack. Business leaders, elected officials, and private citizens, all assuming the same bunker mentality: defend, investigate, deny. In Warren, they're fighting back, rallying around the mayor with potluck suppers intended to defray the cost of legal expertise necessary to defend him. A situation out of hand, not racial, on the contrary, say some, justified. In West Bloomfield, they're trying to build bridges to span the chasm of racial intolerance, racial ignorance, and fear. In West Bloomfield, for the past 3 years, people with different ethnic labels have walked together, linked in the belief best expressed by Martin Luther King Jr., still a dream 30 years after his death. Today on Transition, the dream of a powerful, united U.S. of A. is very much alive as we devote this edition to the West Bloomfield motto of unity and ask the questions, why not everywhere? Why not now? Joining us to help with the answers, Margot Edwards of West Bloomfield with her daughter Tara, Elaine Schoenberger together with her 15-year-old son Michael, Mano Yono, a West Bloomfield entrepreneur, and Sharkey Haddad, who came up with the name United We Walk. All these folks involved in the observance of MLK Day coming up this year. And folks, let me say thank you for joining Transition today.
Thank you for having us.
I love it. I love all of you sitting here on the Transition set, Chaldean and Arab, white and black, men and women all together, giving the lie to so many of the stereotypes. Sharkey, let me start this with you. I understand you came up with the name United We Walk. What's the impetus behind this thing?
Well, about 3 years ago, the Multicultural Committee of a middle school, one of the two middle schools in West Bloomfield Schools, got together, and we talked about doing something that will bring the messages of Martin Luther King back alive into the community of West Bloomfield. Yeah. So that was really the beginning of it.
When I talk to the kids, and Tara, you or Michael, you can jump in here, and both of you together if you like. When I talk to the young folks, 14, 15, 16, and I ask them, well, what does Martin Luther King mean to you? Most of them today tell me a day off of school, you know? Is that what it's all about, Mike?
No. And basically, I believe, you know, he was a tremendous inspiration to us all. He's given us a lot to reach for. And in West Bloomfield, we've been doing that for the past 3 years. We've been following his dream. Inspiration
how? Because when I think of Martin Luther King, I remember the 60s, and I remember the struggle, and I know how it was with the difference in ethnic groups. Today, I don't know if the kids, Tara, really see the difference. You see the progress made. Mm-hmm. What's the message of King? What's the legacy Michael talks about?
I think that what he's trying to say to everybody is that he wants everybody to get along, equally. Like, he wants everybody from every different kind of culture to be able to unite. And I think that with the walk, it really shows the different, diverse community we have and how people can really come together in a peaceful way.
Okay, everybody coming together, no matter what your cultural background is, sounds a little bit like a pipe dream to me. I mean, there's so much we don't know about everyone's culture, Elaine. How is it that in West Bloomfield, a walk is going to give the folks what they need to come together?
Well, so many of us have worked together on various committees with the Parent Teachers Organization and other events that have taken place, and we've become friends. We've gotten to know each other, and have built bridges. So then something like this, which has given us a chance to be unified, this particular event has done so. we've worked on it together. We've seen the progress, and we've continued to work on it. And it's reached the other generations, and we're very proud of that.
Well, I hope that's happening. But, Margot, when I think of West Bloomfield, and you know, excuse me, folks, because I don't want to jump into any stereotypes. If you watch Transition, you know we try to break the stereotypes, not make them. Every area in our region has one. You know, Dearborn, you know what they talk about Dearborn. Warren, you know what they say about Warren. Detroit, you know what they say about Detroit. West Bloomfield, if I may, most folks I talk to think it's a enclave of rich, sophisticated loners who have moved away from the city in an effort to get away from all of the multicultural people. Margot.
Well, we moved to West Bloomfield 5 years ago. I moved from out of state, and I was looking for a community just like West Bloomfield, a community that had diversity. I feel that people learn from diversity, and I think that I think people have moved there trying to move up, but they've also learned to work together in a positive way.
The fact that you've got to have a certain income, Mano, let me put this to you, get you in this dialogue. You've got to have pretty much of a certain income to live in West Bloomfield, unless that's one of the misconceptions.
And I think it is.
Yeah.
Is it?
I think it is.
All right. Why? Why so? Because it's not one of the richest zip codes in Michigan, and it's not the place where folks are driving Beamers and Mercedes and Donna Karan outfits.
It's a community that I think anybody that would visit it could see that. I don't know, they may think that they see more Beamers and Mercedes out there, but not necessarily so. The housing, yes, is great. Obviously, people that work hard want to move up in their life.
But I guess what I was getting to when Margot said she was looking for a diverse or a diverse community where to raise her family, one of the things that so many people talk about when you want to deal with racial problems is getting everybody on the level playing field. I've heard people say the problem isn't black or white, the problem is green. You know, we don't have enough money to do the thing we need to do. My question, in West Bloomfield, is it the myth that everyone is pretty much on the same financial page, which allows this diversity to happen? Or have you all made diversity a major portion of your world, which is perhaps why the green is there? You know what I'm asking? Who wants that?
I'll take a crack at that one. I believe that the second theory is what's real in West Bloomfield. I believe that West Bloomfield, sure, the level of income of families are a little bit higher than your average level of income for communities throughout the United States. But I believe that the leadership, the civic, religious, and political leadership of West Bloomfield decided that diversity is here to stay, and decided that we need to do something proactively to welcome all people, all families, from all backgrounds to our community of West Bloomfield.
Let's get some definitions. Tara, diversity. Diversity is here to stay. What does diversity mean to you?
Like with different ethnic backgrounds, when they come together, and instead of being separate, they come together, unite.
Okay, so taking different people and uniting them together equals diversity.
Yes.
Michael, same thing to you?
Yeah.
Yeah? How about you, Sharky?
Well, this is my position in West Bloomfield Schools as the diversity coordinator. Diversity to me is any individual who is different than you are. Any individual who is different than I am. And it doesn't have to be ethnicity or culture. It could be an individual who is physically challenged or mentally challenged, or any other individual who speak a different language and what have you.
So when we say birds of a feather flock together, and when we use that old, whatever that is, to justify cultures clinging together, you're telling me that the West Bloomfield model is that birds of different feathers are trying to get into each other's nest.
Absolutely.
And working hard at it.
They're working very hard at it.
They're very dedicated to that.
Briefly, how is this Unity Walk going to work on the 20th? What are you doing there, Tara, in the schools?
Before the walk even starts, we've been putting flyers up, trying to put announcements in, and trying to get everybody, we're putting pens, you know, giving people pens and stuff like that, trying to get everybody to know about it.
Yeah, okay.
So,
same thing happening with you, Michael?
Yeah, we've, for the past month or month and a half, Tara and I have met with a bunch of other people in different committees and tried to work out all the details and put together what we hope to be a very successful program.
And what will make this a successful program, Elaine?
Certainly the turnout. We're expecting a large turnout.
What do you want, 100,000 people?
Well,
25,000, what? Everybody from the metro?
We're anticipating 2,000
Okay.
participants that day. And people who will come and celebrate the observance of the day and the meaning and unite together with that meaning. And it'll be a wonderful program.
Well, you know, I like what you're doing. One of the things that really comes to mind on this whole thing is it's one thing to have a celebration for Martin Luther King Day. It's another thing to live the fruit of that celebration all throughout the year. When transition continues, we want to talk about, they've been doing this now for the last 3 years, we want to talk about what fruit has been born from this diversity tree. And we'll do that in about 60 seconds. Stay with us. We're coming right back.
It's going to take an effort on all the races. It won't be done. It won't be done in my lifetime, I know.
Transition, sponsored in part by Mel Farr Automotive Group.
It's Mel Farr Superstar, former Detroit Lions All-Pro running back and one of the nation's most famous auto dealers.
As a football player, I never made it to the Super Bowl. But as a car dealer, I'm proud to be a winner. At Mel Farr, you always get a far better deal.
$1,000 rebate or 1.9 on new 97 Taurus, up to $1,500 rebate on Lincoln's, Toyota Camry or Mazda 626, $179 a month, over 1,000 used vehicles, and we finance.
Buying a car is a lot like football. Timing is everything. So call now, 1-800-MEL-FAR.
Diversity just means rejoicing in who you are, knowing who you are, and being willing to accept others for who they are.
Okay, third year of the Unity Walk. What has come from the Unity Walk? From a meshing of cultures. I mean, are you going to each other's houses? Are you having potluck dinners? Are you calling each other on the phone to talk about problems? Elaine, what's been going on?
Well, certainly many of us have become good friends and have gotten together socially as well as with school events and so forth. We've continued various programs during the year, during the school year.
Programs like what? Dealing with misconceptions or?
Some, yes, correct. We've had motivational speakers come into the schools.
All right, we have a march. We talk about the importance of King and his dream of a colorblind society where black kids and white kids and all God's creatures, children, can walk together. What I'm asking is, from your efforts, are you seeing that bear fruit, Mano?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you just hit on something that I wanted to point out. We are teaching our younger generation. We're starting with our elementary and kindergartners. What we want is what you said, we want them to be colorblind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're trying to focus on. We can nip this in the bud. And where do we learn all this from? Is because we weren't taught the right way ourselves, supposedly. We're trying to instill this into our young kids to be colorblind.
Mm-hmm.
You can have your ethnic background and be proud of it,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't want them to see it as something that's going to be offensive to them.
Yeah.
And to us, it's very important.
And another point, Mano, to what you have just suggested, is the fact that when West Bloomfield community decided to embrace the messages of Martin Luther King, they did not have to wait until more than 50% of the population in West Bloomfield is African American, because they know that the messages of Martin Luther King should be the messages celebrated by all people, regardless of what the population in West Bloomfield is. And to me, that's a very powerful message. So we don't have to wait to have African American families living in our own neighborhood before we start celebrating the messages of Martin Luther King.
You guys are talking some major change. If what you want to happen happens, that's going to shake up people's apple cart pretty much.
Yes, remember also, we're not just talking black and white. We have a lot of Asians in our community.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of Indian people. It's not just a matter of black and white. The whole thing behind it is unity for all ethnic backgrounds. So you can't just say if you're black, white, or yellow.
Exactly.
You see, so now...
Because there's no such thing anymore, is there?
No, you have to be colorblind.
Well, one of the things, you said it, Mano, and Tara, I want you and Michael to jump in there anytime you're ready, okay? You want to give the kids, you want to give them what they need. You want to teach them what they'll have. Well, we've done 100 and some odd shows on the ravages of peer pressure. I'm wondering, Tara, all of us gray-haired folks can sit up here till we're blue in the face giving you the message of King and the proper books and all of those things. But isn't it really you all's friends, when you all come together, that decides how you're going to push this thing through?
Well,
aren't the kids the ones with the most influence, is my question?
Right now?
Yeah.
Because, well, I think that a lot of people are starting to understand the messages, and I think that by the different ethnic groups that have been coming to the meetings, I think that they really are interested in being involved.
Well, all right, to me, diversity means saying, all right, let me invite a couple of my white friends for dinner, going over to my Chaldeans friend's house to understand their culture, understanding everybody's, or trying to, everybody's differences in the workplace, and putting myself in the place of maybe a woman trying to deal in the same world I'm dealing in. Are those the lessons that you're learning, giving, striving for?
We're trying to eliminate what you just said. Invite your white friends over, invite your Chaldean friend over. Let's get rid of the titles there.
Labels.
The labels. We don't want that. Let's invite your friends over.
Right.
Well, that's kind of my idea, and I think I asked you that, Mano. Stay with that before we went here, because, you know, you told me you were Chaldean, and I said, well, don't you get tired of the labels? I mean, I get tired of calling myself a black man, but that's what we see.
But that's
and that's what has been reinforced, is it not?
Well, that's when you ask somebody what they are, they are something. So yes, what is my ethnic background? Basically Arab. And that could also go for Jewish people,
But
because they're
didn't
from the same part of the world.
Didn't you just say that we want to get away from that label?
No, not white and black. We want to get away. If you're Afro-American, that's fine, but you're still a friend, and that's the label that we want.
Yeah, like when you're looking at somebody, you want to don't want to feel like you're looking at, just because looking at a white person, you just want to say, I'm looking at somebody.
Yeah.
Instead of saying,
Yeah, this is a white person, and I just happen to be
my
with
children, my kids say, we have friends come over. Nobody ever says, are they Chaldean, are they white, or are they black? Their friends are coming over. That's all we want to know.
Yeah.
And I think what we're all saying, and Tara and Michael would agree with us, is the fact that when we look at people, we should look at who they are as individuals, but also at the same time be conscious of their backgrounds.
I like that, Sharky, but to know, for me to look at you and know who you are as an individual, I've got to know you, don't I?
Right.
I've got to spend time getting to know you. And
as an individual first. Before my ethnic background.
So that's my question.
Yes.
How is a unity walk? Thank you for phrasing that in my head.
Right.
How has a unity walk allowed you all to get to know each other as individuals? What have you been doing?
Well, we've been working together as groups, and we get to know each other. That way we really bound together and work for the same purpose. And we've learned that no matter what the background, we all have the common purpose. So I think that has helped a lot of people get to know each other and realize that we're all the same.
Okay. Michael, tell me one of the biggest stereotypes that you run into as a freshman in high school.
One of the biggest stereotypes I'm kind of sorry to say is that a lot of people believe, and it's not just people of one ethnic background, and it's also in literature, is that African Americans tend to be the most crime enforcing.
Crime. The folks who create most of the crime, the folks who drive the crime rates up. Tara, what's the biggest stereotype, or yeah, I guess that's the word I'm looking for, that you face or deal with in school?
I guess the same thing.
As part of that black ethnic group, as part of that African American culture, do you find that you are perceived as part of the group that is doing the wrong thing?
Sometimes, I guess, but not all the time. It depends. I don't know. I guess some people expect me to, be like, yell or something, and when people say something to me or ready to fight.
Get in their face.
Yeah, but I never do that, so.
So you dispel that myth.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's happening when we take a look at Dearborn, for instance, when we take a look at Fairlane Mall, when we take a look at what's happening in Warren. It's really cultures clashing, It's folks not knowing each other and folks saying, I don't like this person because I don't know him. When transition continues, we're going to take the motto of this unity walk and we're going to find out, is there a way we can use some of the things they've learned to help Dearborn, to help Warren, to help your own community? Transition. We're coming right back.
To get what they would call a colorblind society. where things are done and based on who you are, not what color you are or not what religion you are, just who you are.
When I was young, I used to race my dad. I'd win a few, he'd win a few. But pretty soon, I won them all. He was always short of breath. I asked him to stop smoking. The doctor said that after a while, his heart just couldn't take it. When I think about losing him so young, mine can't either. If you stop smoking now, the effects can be reversed. So quit, and don't quit quitting.
Take a ride down the road of life. See the people who do the drive.
Ever since I was a kid, I've been into cars. How they look, how they work, how I would build them. Now, with the help of a General Motors scholarship, I'm getting ready to make it happen.
It's people like you. General Motors, we never forget who's driving.
Well, if it wasn't for Martin Luther King doing what he did, I don't think I'd be where I'm at now. Because it's growing up in school and reading about what he did and seeing the movies, it led me to believe that you can't work things out without being violent. You know, people actually have to sit back and say, damn, we can do this.
Right now in Dearborn, as I alluded to earlier, I mean, the NAACP is threatening marches, and folks are screaming discrimination. They've been doing that for ever since I've lived here, and certainly longer before that. That's not happening in West Bloomfield. Why not, and what can they get from what you all are doing, Margot?
I think that we have worked well as a community. I think that we have tried. Parents have been very involved in the schools, and I think that with the walk, we've gotten to know each other very well, and I think we really make an effort to learn about each other's cultural background. I think we want to, you know, the kids are friends, and they also get to know each other and get to know, you know, their backgrounds and to understand them.
So the thought process is, Tara, that if the kids get to know each other, and if the kids are friends with each other, that you all are going to bring your parents into the fold?
Yeah, I think that it has to work both ways, though. I think that parents need to get involved just as much as the kids do. But since the kids are going to be the future, then they should really get involved more.
Yeah, it would help. It would help, definitely help. But I would like to add that some of the tips that other communities can learn and follow from West Bloomfield is the fact that the community at large, including the leadership, we're not afraid to talk about bringing down all those barriers and walls.
Yeah.
And I think once the community start talking about this issue, then action follows, and that's when the programs begin, and everybody comes together and learn about one another.
But once again, you can have all the rhetoric and all the talk that you want, but unless the institutions of that community come together, business, government, education, etc., you've still got talk. Mano, I said that because I wanted to address this to you. As a businessman whose livelihood depends upon what you're selling, how important is diversity to business?
It's very big. You don't just depend on one race or culture to support your business. Business comes from, like you said, you look at green, you don't look at any other color.
But if one of the biggest perceptions is, as Michael said, that to be black is to be the bearer of crime, business is loath to accept crime into their establishments because they think it's going to drive away the so-called no crime person.
And I don't really believe in that because I had a business in Detroit. We still have a business in Detroit for the past 40-some years. We definitely don't look at it that way. The misconceptions are there. They shouldn't be, but they are. And that's what we strive for right now, is to eliminate that, and that's how we're trying to teach our kids.
Yeah, you know, what really blows my mind, Elaine, let me throw this to you. When I was your son's age, that was the time of all the promise in this country. We knew it was going to be different. We knew that blacks and whites and Koreans, then, you know, I mean, if the Arab group wasn't as strong as it is now, we're going to make this thing happen. It seems like we've become even more polarized, even though we were the enlightened generation. Now we're saying our kids will lead us. Where did we drop this ball?
Well, you're right. I also grew up in watching the Hopes and everything take place, and I was very fortunate to have been raised by parents who were very active in, still very active in building bridges, and have been wonderful role models for me and I and my husband for our children. And West Bloomfield is so wonderful that way, as Margot mentioned and Mano mentioned. The multicultural, there's so much.
Do we get in trouble with that label?
I don't think
Multicultural.
so.
What exactly does that mean?
You asked a question about how do we teach everybody?
Yeah.
Multicultural committees.
Right. Absolutely.
And a lot of
the trick. Be
lot of-
involved multiculturally. Be involved. That's how you will learn about each and every background, and you can understand them, and will eliminate all this, all these doubts that you have
You'll
about
know
them.
somebody of the other group.
Right.
You'll see that
You'll
you've
see
got
that,
something in common with them. You'll stop listening to the people who
Right.
don't know anything as the know-it-alls,
Right.
and you'll learn it for yourself.
And you'll
Is
see-
that what I'm hearing?
And you'll see that
Yes.
all the stereotypes aren't always
Aren't
true.
always true.
And that's what this walk is like trying to do. I mean, one of the problems that people see in this sort of, I hate to use the word segregation, is the fact that they have some sort of a lack of knowledge, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach out and give people the knowledge to understand what we're trying to do.
I like it. Last word.
Living in a rich, multicultural community like West Bloomfield, you learn as much from that as those experiences that you have meeting and learning from people from different backgrounds as you do as learning from school.
And when
know?
you say rich, you're not talking about dollars.
No,
you're
no, I
talking
mean rich
about
cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
You just, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And we truly hope to provide a role model for
Yeah.
other communities.
One last comment, that every community should look at society at large as of we're all in this together.
I like it.
And if we don't work together, learn about one another, and look for the future to be a better place for our children, we all should face the consequences.
I like it. You know, I heard it put a very interesting way. If we don't hang together, we'll surely all hang separately. You know, on the 20th of January, there's going to be a unity walk in West Bloomfield. Everybody is invited to come on down.